So let's get a little bit of background about you. How did you get into the content creating world?
Content creating world. Well, this could end up in a whole nother tangent. Like you think we're talking about privacy, but it's been a roundabout trip. Long story is I got into privacy because I realized that it's super important. I realized that there's very little you can do in the world, very little freedom you can have if you don't have privacy as well. And so I just figured that it's the foundation of free speech. It's the foundation of freedom of the press. It's the foundation of freedom of money. I think it's just so important. But like content creation, gosh, that's a whole other thing. I started out as an opera singer and then went into TV
No
production.
way.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
when you say that, do people immediately demand that you start singing?
Well, it's been like over a decade since I've sung. I started doing like parody videos on my channel because I was like, I miss music. And that's as much as anyone gets these days is like ridiculous, dumb, parody songs generally about Bitcoin. And I haven't even done that for a few years, but
And opera singing is probably difficult because you can't just like go do karaoke and like do your opera singing. I don't think people would be ready for that.
I don't think they would be ready for that. No, I was pretty neurotic when I was an opera singer. I had no social life. I couldn't go to cafes to talk to people because you're like a high collar tourist. So your voice goes. I have maybe a few hours a day of good vocals that I could have, and I wasn't going to waste them chatting with people in a loud environment. So I just had no social life, and I would never do karaoke. But the good thing now is that I do karaoke all the time and I can scream those songs. I can sing AC/DC. Like it's a far less neurotic life now. So it's great.
Wouldn't that be just hilarious? Like you're like dating. I don't know if you're like with anybody right now, but like to say that to a guy, be like, "Look, I only have about 3 to 4 hours of like good voice time. I don't even know if you're worth it." Like I
Yeah,
don't know if
pretty
hanging with
much.
you is worth the chat. That is
I like
so
it.
neat. You're multi-talented.
I,
You're like a triple threat.
great at doing a lot of things very mediocrely. So I listen, I'll take the compliment, but you haven't heard me sing. So
Not yet. Hit it.
not
No. Uh,
yet.
I started to become interested in privacy, I guess maybe post 9/11 or learning about what happened post 9/11 with the
Mhm.
Patriot Act, and I feel like so many other people, we were just so uh naive to what's been happening and you know, there was a time I think maybe it was during the pandemic where I got, like, super paranoid and I killed off a bunch of apps and I turned off, like, location settings on everything. I'm like, "They're watching us, they're looking for me," and I've probably slacked and they're probably all back on again. Was there a moment for you that you started to become really interested in privacy and, like, data collection?
Yeah, I mean, I started out in the crypto world and I was thinking that this was, a new era because you had this point in time around '08 where there's the financial collapse, you had all these TARP bailouts, you had all these, corporations who are basically getting paid out by taxpayers. And I'm like, this is a terrible cronyist system. I do not like it. So when crypto came around, I was super excited. I was like, finally, we have an alternative. We have an alternative financial system. This is monetary freedom. No one was talking about it. It was only geeks. It was only people who liked code. I'm not a coder. I was into it because I was into economics. So I was like, wow, this could be a way to take back control of the money supply. People's savings don't have to get inflated away. I was pretty into it. And I knew how tightly controlled the financial rails were. And I thought that this was cool because it's the first time we had an alternative money that couldn't be shut down. There was no central focal point that could be targeted, like no CEO, no central server that could be unplugged. So it was really exciting. And then as the years went by and you saw these smear campaigns in the media and like, oh, this is a terrible thing. It's only for drug dealers or whatever. And I was like, oh, actually, it's a tool for financial inclusion. Like I can send some money to someone in Nigeria to help them build a farm and no one can
Don't no,
stop
it's a
me.
scam. Yeah.
Yeah. And but the more I started to realize, like, it wasn't enough to have a tool that, the whole apparatus couldn't be targeted. Because if individuals could still be targeted, it wasn't good enough. You needed privacy. You needed to be able to hide the fact that you were using this if it came down to it. And obviously, Bitcoin's not illegal. People can use it. But I could see a future where it didn't matter what decentralized tech you had, if you could be, isolated and targeted, and like you could basically be coerced into, handing over your money, or forced to stop using this thing or tracked or whatever. So I just started to realize how important privacy was in the scheme of everything. And then Snowden's memoirs came out, and I was hooked. I was reading this thing, and I'm like, what is X key score? What is, Prism? What is turbulence and turmoil and all these programs? And I'm like, are you kidding me? All of this stuff is literally been taken from every search I do on the internet. So I went down a giant rabbit hole. I started, like, I'm not a techie person. I did my degree in classical music, right? So
Oh,
I'm reading
wow.
about this stuff for the first time. And the first few videos I did on this, obviously YouTubers, or I mean, the YouTube audience is all like, you got it wrong. But it was a wonderful journey for me, because through that, I met all of these experts who actually, you got it wrong, but here's what you need to know. And I'm like, great. And so you start talking to more people, you start diving into this world, you start realizing, first of all, the first step was the shock at how overwhelming all of this is, and how much data is being collected, and how little privacy you have. The second phase, I call it enlightenment, is where you realize that there are so many cracks in the surveillance system, and they can be learnt, and you can protect yourself. You just have to learn the right tools. So that was when I started to be like, I felt reinvigorated. I started to dive into this and teach people, how can you protect yourself? It's not enough to say, privacy's dead on the internet, don't bother about it. It's like, no, it's not. It can be achieved, and it's important to try to achieve it. So that became like this whole other journey for me, and that's been my focus for the past few years now.
Love you guys. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for the comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye. All right. Love you guys. God, I don't even want to leave. This candle smells so good. I don't want to leave. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all. Join the Discord. Feet. Love you all. Wow. You guys are awesome. Come and get it. Bye, guys. Bye. Now I'm really leaving. Love you. Bye.